I gotta say, guys, sorry about my voice before we start because I have kind of a flu. So I'm really trying to just push forward to post these videos because I really am not feeling very well. So sorry about my voice and stuff, but yeah, let's get going. So guys, today I mean the event ended, the seed event, and as always, like I said, they were testing a lot of things. The S-75s, proper like seed missions, asymmetrical combat, many things. One of the things that they were testing here is not having markers on an air match. And I really wanted to push forward on this subject a little bit, right? Because guys, I think RRB should have a similar mechanic. I don't know if it's supposed to be like it is here or whatnot. We would need a lot of testing here with many BRs, including top tier, lower tiers and stuff, to see how good these matches would be like. Because, for example, in lower ranks, the match might feel a little bit boring because you just have to keep finding targets, right? And in top tiers, it won't change too much because you have, post operators and stuff. So it might need an in-between thing and some other mechanics, like for example some form of EWR or something like that, for people not to just keep hiding. But at the end of the day, things here and there should be changed, but I still believe that we need this feature to be in RRB, guys. It is just such a good thing because it makes it up to be first a lot more realistic. The kills when you find a target and everything, it is just a lot more satisfying. It is a lot harder, so people need to really pay attention. Missiles become a lot more dangerous, which can be a bad thing in the top ranks, but in the higher ranks, for example, it is a very, like in the lower ranks, sorry, it is a thing that really does help. For example, here we were using older missiles, 70s missiles, basically, early 70 missiles, right? The M9J, R3, R13M, the R3R, the Sparrow E2, which is from 1969, I think. So it's very old missiles, right? And they have a very problematic performance sometimes, especially something like an M9B or R3S, right? So of course these missiles, they become a lot more fun to actually use because people need to have a lot more situational awareness. And at the end of the day, you use your sensors and your Mark 1 eyeball to actually find targets and missiles. Maybe missiles could be something that they actually add the little like chevron or whatever it's called, like red thing to actually find where the missiles are going and stuff, to be a little bit more user friendly. But at the end of the day, guys, the marker itself, it's pretty alright to not have. The RWR gives you a lot of information on where targets are. The radar helps you a lot, and even at flying low, you can still find targets. I mean, look at that helicopter. I found him flying from like 6-7 kilometers, right? So at the end of the day, even a helicopter that is quite hard sometimes to spot, I was easily making a spot on it, right? So at the end of the day, guys, like, it's playable. It is a lot more interesting. It takes a lot more skill and situational awareness. To be honest, if I could even say this, the ideal situation would be to have technically 4 game modes with something in between air realistic and simulator battles, but I think that would just divide too much of the player base. So yeah, having no markers in RRB would already be something. Like I said, the way that they can add this is with multiple little tests, of course, and with stuff asking basically the community. First of all, of course, they need to ask the community if they want no markers or something in between the markers that we have right now in the RB and this event with literally no markers, right? And depending on what the actual community answers, which probably will be in the between, right? They could actually test multiple options. Like I said, I mean, having the little red thing about missile launches, I mean, that thing helps for you to actually have a little bit more situational awareness depending on the PC that you are playing, etc., right? Because the more quality you have or less, depending on situation, you will see more or less of a missile smoke coming towards you, right? Another thing is, of course, having some form of marker always on friendlies. You know, that way you could, if you see something, you know it's an enemy. The other thing, it would be to basically make sure that maybe, I don't know, like you don't have bots, like flying bots in the middle of a match, so that you know that if you see something, it is an actual player. And the other thing is having, of course, some form of maybe, I don't know, like a marker when you are up close, similar-ish to simulator battles with friendlies, but for enemies, right? So if you get up to like 1 kilometer, something like that, which is pretty far away, I gotta be honest. I mean, as a pilot, you see aircraft flying around near you, and unless it's like a really big Boeing or Airbus or something like that, you don't see, you can't really identify too much of other aircraft if they are very small, like fighters, from above like 1 or 2 kilometers. You know, you can, you know, see them, but you will not be able to identify the type normally of the aircraft, right? So in real life, so it means that in the game we would need to have some form of 2 or 3 kilometer mark there, that if you are at these distances, it is identified as an enemy or something like that. And last but not least, like I said, some form, maybe different types of no markers depending on the BR. So for example, in these BRs here, we could actually have EWRs, you know, apart from above like the MiG-15s and stuff, rank 5 or something like that, we can have some form of early warning radar, basically a control, you know, form of control, basically telling you, if you ask them, where targets are roughly, right? Meaning that if there is one target left on the enemy's team and it keeps running, you can find it, right? Or something like that, especially if you don't have the radars. In the early matches in World War II, they can have different ways of dealing with that. Although in World War II, technically, I mean, they did have radars and stuff, so it can be pushed a little bit, right? At the end of the day, I think markers make it up to be a little bit harder, of course, so maybe the reward should be greater, but at the end of the day, it is a lot more realistic, it is a lot more fun, it makes it up to be, you know, a cooler gameplay, and it's just something that I think needs to happen so that we can have a more engaging RRB situation where skill matters more than just your radar or something like that, or your marker, you know, or somebody's marker, right? But basically this is it, guys. Let me know in the comments what you think, and I see you guys on the next one. Make sure to subscribe, leave a like, leave a comment, and bye guys, see you.